All right, welcome everybody. We made it! After a series of delays for this stream and all the other ones, man, today's been hot over here. We're dealing with like 90-degree weather and the power went out and then the internet's going out. It's been a rough ride, but here we are. We finally are here. So just full disclosure, one of these I have opened up in advance because there was something I wanted to try with one of them. But here it is. Here's our box. Check it out. Godzilla Movie Graphic Plus. Now, you guys might be asking, what is the Movie Graphic Plus line? Who is it dedicated towards? Like, what's the audience, right? And the answer is, the main audience is people that don't collect figures. Tourists, as I like to call them. And that's actually where they're primarily marketed in Japan, is in very heavy tourist traffic areas. So this figure right here is meant for people that have never ever collected a Godzilla before. We're not talking about new collectors that are just familiar with Godzilla and big fans of it and that want to join Monster Arts. This is folks that have never collected figures before. Now, this gives an opportunity to folks that are new collectors that missed out on the first releases, and now they have the chance to get this guy right here. For veteran collectors, the draw-in is that you get a colorway. It's a new color, and it's scene specific for all these figures. So that's the idea of Movie Graphic Plus. It's catered towards the folks that have never collected Godzilla stuff ever. And that is why only Godzilla iterations will be in this line. There's no allies, no villains, nothing like that. And it's always going to be a bare bones release with the poster art. And that's the big key. They said that they wanted the poster art to be the big thing because most people that have never collected Godzilla stuff before, they're not going to recognize the 1989 number or anything like that. What they're going to recognize is the poster art. So they'll walk into like an airport or something like that, or a place that's really close by that's really touristy, and they'll see this poster and they'll say, oh, what is that? And hold this up, it's like, oh, it's a Godzilla figure, and wow, it looks pretty good. Potentially making a sale. So that's the whole idea behind Movie Graphic Plus. That's why it exists. That's why that they're trying to sell it like the way it is. And from my understanding, all the packaging for all of the Godzilla Movie Graphic Plus stuff, it's all going to be the same. So what you're seeing right here, it's going to be that same format. And I believe they're trying to get it to be the same box size too. They may not for some of the bigger figures, but for Shin Godzilla, for example, they have the tail disassembled so that they can keep it within the same format. I haven't opened mine up, so I haven't checked to see the size just yet, but I believe it's the same size as this box right here. So here's the front, here's the side, here's our back, other side. There's your top, and then there's your bottom. So let's get this guy opened up. Let's see what's inside. Immediately opening this up, let's see here. So on the back side of it, actually before we even go into that, you're going to see this right away. There is no manual in the figure, but it does come with the manual on the inner flap right there. And the manual is just basically just telling you how to fold these parts together so that way you don't fold it the wrong direction. That's the idea of that. But inside you've got the Movie Graphic Plus card right here. So there's that. And then there's the back side of it as well. So you can choose which side you want. You can either do the back side or you can display the front side. Sorry, the image is mirrored. So there's that. All right. So there's nothing else in the box. There's actually not even a cardboard colored backdrop. It's just regular cardboard on the inside of it right there. We'll go over what that looks like on the inside in just a second. Here is the figure though, in its clamshell. Easy peasy, right? Let's go ahead and get that opened up there. Love that smell of fresh paint right there. And then you've got the protective layer right there. This guy right here. Let me just put that down here. So here is the figure. 1989 Godzilla. So this figure, for those that are wondering, what's different between the original release and the exclusive edition release? This is supposed to be the nighttime color variant. So this is as it appears in all the nighttime battle scenes. So it's just a darker coloration that's more of a gray coloration on the original, whereas this is more of a black. So, but that is it right there. Looks good, right? Give me 1 second, guys. I got something popping up. I'm gonna walk on the other side of the camera really quick. I will pop this out in just 1 second. I will be right back. I'm just seeing the chat. Grand Theft. How can I afford? Because I don't keep these guys. So if you guys are wondering, how do I always get pickup for? It's because of we do what's called a variance comparison. The variance comparison here program that I do is I offer it to people that want to get these figures early. So instead of just them pre-ordering it from the shops, they actually just pre-order through me, and then I pick up the 4. They let me do the review with their samples that they've got, and then from there, I'll ship it to them after I'm done. So they make it possible. Thank you guys for doing that. Let's take out this guy right here. Just so you guys can see the card a little bit better. It's in a nice plastic and everything. So this is the cardstock. It's not super thick, but it definitely feels premium. It's got a reflective matte coating on top of it. And it's a punch-out card, so you're going to punch it out. And I will show you guys how to do this. This is why I opened one in advance, so I can see how to do it in advance. But we will go over that together. So there's that first card. Let's get these other guys open, though, okay? Let's do that. So this is the one that I opened for myself earlier. See here. They are all looking fine today. Boy, this unboxing is so much easier than Destroyers was, man. Destroyers was like multi-layered and everything. Oh man, it was not fun. Getting that guy out. All right, so let me just pop this back in there. So we'll get these all out. This is the format for anybody that's just joining us for the live for the first time. This is how we kind of do these guys, is that we get all 4 out. We'll look at them all 4 standing in a row kind of thing. And then from there, we'll go into kind of just a big view of just one figure where we take close-ups, look at the paint and sculpt. Then we'll do a variance comparison of the paint and sculpt between all 4 figures. And then we do articulation demos. And after we do the articulation demo, from there, we will do comparisons with the original release as well as the event exclusive. And then from there, comparisons with other figures in the line. You guys get to choose. And then from there, we just kind of chill and do a little hangout session. You know, that's pretty much the end of the stream, but we'll do like Q&A, hangout. It's just a moment for me to decompress after all that. So, but that's the idea of how these streams go. They typically go about 3 to 4 hours long. So if you're here the whole entire time, you are absolutely amazing for sticking it out. So one of these, by the way, just to preserve the cards and everything, I'm not going to be opening all or cutting out all the card stock from all these figures. So Josh and Robo Lizard have given me permission to go ahead and give examples of how to do cutouts with their stuff. So look forward to that. And I'll show you guys examples from theirs. I also did mine as well, but I'm going to show you guys a different thing that I did with mine, just so you guys can see how that's going to work out. Okay. Uh-oh. We got an arm that was loose in this guy right here. Oh no, the world is going to end. If you guys ever open these things up and you got a figure that's got a loose joint or popped up joint, just pop it back in. That's all you got to do. This is the arm, bicep, right at the elbow actually. And just snaps right back in. Okay, so here's our cast. Okay. Okie dokie, guys. All right, so here they all are. Let me just check the chat really quick here. All right. Okay, cool. All right, so this is all 4 of our figures right here on display. Let me, I'll try to get them into a little bit of a more meaner pose just for the beginning of this right here, but typically I like to just kind of keep them neutral for our one shot. There's a certain pose that 1989 just does so well, so I'm gonna try and emulate that just off the cuff. Mouths look great though. This figure was kind of the next step after the 1995 figure in terms of articulation engineering and everything. Nothing has changed since its release of the original figure, but there were some improvements in some areas, especially like the hips and everything, the torso area. Not so much the tail. The tail was a little bit better in the fact that it was articulated almost to the tip. It was really close. 1991 improves a lot of what happened with this guy right here. So this one had like a crooked head. I believe, based off of what I'm seeing right here, that this one actually has the best closed mouth out of all the 1989 figures. So, okay. So there's our 4. I'm going to go ahead and get on the other side for this. So I will use this one as an example. There. All right, perfect. Let me just get on the other side of the camera. Okay, let me just set these right up here. Put that one there. Okay, we're gonna zoom in very shortly. Okay, let me just get a little bit closer for us. All right, so here we go. We'll start from left to right. Okay, so here is our 1989 Godzilla right here. Movie Graphic Plus. We're gonna just kind of go through them all. Just a little pan by and everything. They look really good though. Look at that. Cool. Let's do a side profile view of all of them. I'm liking what I'm seeing so far, guys. They're looking pretty consistent. Consistency is definitely key here. All right, let's flip the back side of them. Yeah, the tails definitely feel better on these guys than they do for the 95 figure. So here's all 4 of them. Let me move this a little bit more. Okay, that's much better. So there's all 4 from the back. I can already tell you that I love the dorsals way more on this one, the coloration, way more than on the original. Yeah, these are sorry, I meant to say that I like these more than the original. Yeah, definitely a better coloration this time around. Look at that. Okay, so let's get them back facing front again. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to just look at one of these. We're going to get really good close-ups of everything, all of them or just one at it, and then we'll go into the articulation of them. But until then, guys, we have a word from our sponsor of this video, Hobby Genki. They provided these over here for us for fast shipping and everything. So let's hear a message about them first, and then we'll get into the figure. 1 second. Before we continue, I'd like to thank our sponsor Hobby Genki for providing these figures quickly and efficiently for this video. When you get to the Hobby Genki website, head over to the search bar and type in S.H.MonsterArts. From there, you'll be able to search all their latest releases. Hobby Genki offers pre-order discounts on general releases, which is a great way to save a little bit of money if you're planning on picking up multiple figures. When you get to the checkout process, you'll notice at the bottom that it says, "Congratulations, you're eligible to join the loyalty program." Their loyalty program lets you earn points from your purchases, which can later be converted into vouchers for future orders. On your profile page, you can navigate to the loyalty program section where you'll see your current point balance, which can be converted into a voucher, and you can apply it toward future purchases. Now let's talk about shipping, because this is probably the most important part. If you're ordering from the United States, you'll want to select US FedEx. This option includes delivery duties paid, which means any customs, duties, or tariffs are already included in the cost upfront, so you won't have to worry about additional fees once the package arrives in the US. If you plan on purchasing multiple items that release in different months, Hobby Genki also offers something called their private warehouse. This option appears at the bottom of the shipping section and allows you to hold items until multiple products arrive. They can be shipped together later. Think of it similarly to a pile of loot system. Just make sure you're using it for multiple items rather than a single purchase. If you want more detailed information about their shipping process, custom fees, or their return policy, you can click on the Click Here for Details section under the FedEx DTP shipping option. That page explains their preparation process, shipping methods, customs information, and return procedures. You can also follow Hobby Genki across social media on YouTube, Instagram, and X to keep up with the new arrivals and announcements. So once again, a big thank you to Hobby Genki for helping sponsor this video and sending these figures over. Now let's get back to the video. All right, so here we are back with the figure again. So yeah, give them a check out if you want to get those figures in advance. Otherwise, stick with US distribution. All right, let's zoom in and take a good look at this guy. So first things first, let me see. All right. Okay, so here it is. This is the front side view of it. Let me just get that position there for you. Okay, so it may look a little glossy at first in some areas, and that's because there is a little bit of a semi-gloss coat on here. It's supposed to be at the nighttime scenes, which was raining throughout the whole movie. So there's going to be parts where it might look a little bit of glossy in certain areas, but I promise you that it looks more glossy on camera in these areas than it does in real life. So you can see the mouth is closed all the way right there. It looks great. The eye paint is looking fantastic too. It still uses dot matrix paint, but I believe that out of all of these previous figures, this is the best looking one for sure. So it's interesting, on this side of the mouth, there's a little bit more of a gap opening than it is on this side of the mouth. So I think that just has to do with the unique sculpting. So let's open that up there. It's just a mean looking Godzilla. I love, you know what's interesting is I never have been the biggest fan of the 1989 Godzilla, but having so much of it in the collection now has made me a definite fan of this sculpt, this suit. It's really good. So, and don't worry about these kind of gaps, guys. You can move these shoulders up. They're on joints where you can close them up, so you don't have to worry about that or anything. So let's take a look throughout the rest of the figure here. We've got, there's its chest area right there. There's not too much in terms of different weathering patterns. Now, the first release has a lot of weathering details throughout the whole thing. And that's mainly because there's different types of shading and blue tints throughout the whole thing. And I never was a big fan of the blue tint effect that they had. But the dorsals look really good. They're really clean, really sharp looking. Look at that. And then let's take a look at those nails. The nails have some good blending too. I can't remember off the top of my head how the blending was on the original, so we'll have to see that when we compare them. But they look good here. Very good blending at the base of the nails going into the hand. Let's look at a little bit lower there. Torso's looking good. A lot of the shading effect that you kind of see throughout is just cast of shadows and lighting. There really isn't that much weathering. The toe claws look good though. Look at that. They look great. And then let's look at the rest of the dorsal plates just from the side profile going down. So the mouth can open quite wide too, but we'll get more into articulation a little bit later. Yeah, lots of segments for articulation. Still not articulated the tip on this figure, but if you want a 1989 rep for your collection, this is probably going to be the one that you want to get. So, but yeah, there it is. There is the figure right there. Let's get into the variance comparison between all four of them now. So we're going to start just with the head only. Let's do mouth closed. That's important. We want to see the mouth closed for these for the first time. Okay. Oh, you know what? It wasn't zoomed in. I was like, why is it so far? Okay. So there's our first part right here. The eye looks good. Look at the eyeball right there. Very nice. Teeth look okay. They're not bad. I like the coloration of the teeth this time compared to the other ones. The other ones were just a little too white in my opinion. This has got that kind of bone coloration throughout. And I think this looks a lot better. Very sharp in detail. Not too much paint slop or anything like that. The tongue is also articulated, by the way. So that's number one. Let's take a look at number two. Again, the number two's mouth can close all the way right there. So it's closed all the way. Eyes look good. Yeah, it seems like when it comes to this part right here, it's just going to be a little bit more open on that side, and that just has to do with the unique sculpting that they do with this. Even though this mouth can open all the way, I think it looks kind of funky when it's opened up all the way. I like to open it a little bit more like this, and it's also on a ball joint, so you can push this mouth so that it's backwards, or not backwards, just more into the mouth, so it's not hanging out so much. As an option right there. The teeth don't look too bad on this one too. A little bit of paint dribble in the front right there on this one, but not too bad. I like that we can see the gums. The gums are looking pretty cool right there. Yeah, it's not bad. Let's look at number three. So, mouth can close all the way. As far as eye alignment goes, they're not bad. I think they really nailed it with these guys. The eye alignment looks pretty good. They're pretty dark to tell off the bat. But for the most part, it's looking pretty good. Not bad. I like that. And we'll look at number 4 here. Number 4. This one seems to have a little bit more closed right here on this side than the other ones. Let's open that up. Got a little bit of a line of paint right there in the bottom row right there. For the most part, it's still pretty good. So it's usual to see variance expected over here on the teeth. You know, they're just so small and they're hand painted. Not every single one's gonna look the same. But I'm pretty happy with these for the most part. And the eye alignment looks pretty good too. Okay, let's look at number 4. Let's just check the chat. Yeah. Really like the paint on this one. Think this is the best 1989 figure hands down. Absolutely, yeah. I 100% agree with that statement right there. Definitely. This is definitely the best one that they've gotten so far. Okay, let's look at the chest and arms area. So what we're looking for on this is just variance and blending effects. For the most part, it's pretty solid. It's just mostly one solid color throughout. A little bit more wet looking on the hands than on the main body. Again, it's supposed to be nighttime battle scene though, so it's supposed to be raining during the movie. But the blending's great on those nails right there. Let's look at number 2. Here's number 2's. That's not so bad. Blending also looks good on the nails right there. So far so good. I'm really digging it, guys. I'm really digging this figure. Let's look at number 3 here. It's good in the front. I mean, it's kind of the same, really. I mean, but that's what we want. We want consistency, right? Consistency is what's good. It seems like all the hands on these guys are going to have a little bit more of that wet look on them. Again, in person, though, it doesn't look this glossy. This is just camera picks up on light differently than how we interpret light sometimes, so yeah, it's looking good though. Let's look at number 4. It's a little bit on the lighter end of the blending on the hands this time around. On this one right here, you can see it on that finger. It's not as blended as much. Yeah, I think number 4 might be our copy that's not the greatest, but still okay. It looks like. I mean, the blending is just like, it's okay. The other 3 were much stronger with the blending on the claws. Let's look at the dorsals now. So here's number 1. It just looks so good. Yeah. They really knocked you out of the park. 3rd time's a charm, right? Like it looks so good. Let's look at the back side. Yeah, let's look at this side. Yeah, I just love the, you know, that was another thing with the original release. It was a bit messy on the top of the head right here, but it doesn't look bad. It looks good. I guess not messy. It was just kind of thickly applied on the first release, but this looks, it looks so much better this time around. Yeah, this is really cool. Okay, let's look at number 2s. We'll start on the right side here, and we'll work our way down. Look at the back of the head right there. It's this one's a little bit more thicker on the top right here, but it's not over. There's not an overspray where it's like touching the body though, so that's good. You got some marks, right? You know, they're not full, like this part right here is like a little missing some. But it's just, this is just nitpick stuff at this point, you know? It's not like they missed like a whole dorsal or anything like that, but it's looking good on that side. Cool. That's number 2. Let's look at number 3. I mean, if there's variance, like I'm not seeing much of it other than just like the smaller stuff that's on the sides right here. Like this stuff seems to be, you know, hit or miss when it comes to the coverage and the thickness of that paint. Like some of it's lighter on other figures, but for the most part, like what you see on the actual torso itself, like that's looking pretty good. I think I'm a little too close there. There we go. Let's look at the other side here. This one's got, I think it's just as good as the first one when it comes to blending on top. Looks just as good. Yeah, it's not bad. Not bad at all. All right, let's look at number 3. Sorry guys, if I'm not calling out your chat stuff, it's because I'm focusing on this. I promise I will definitely go back and look at the chat at some point, but for now, when you're one man showing this, you just got to focus on the product. I like this one. This one's actual dorsal alignments on the sides, not so bad. Let's check the other side. It's not bad up there either. Very nice. Looking good. All right, let's look at the feet now. Okay, lower torso into the feet. There we go. It's not bad. In the description in Japan, it actually mentions that there's supposed to be like a white light casted feature from the scene when they have the spotlights on Godzilla, and I think that's why they added this semi-gloss coat throughout the rest of the figure here, is because they want to emulate that when you have light bouncing off it. It makes it look like this white light that's on the figure itself. So, but let's zoom in on the feet there. Really good blending on the feet this time. I think that the other ones, I think the original release is just a lot darker. So I think that the blending here it's brighter towards the edges, but they're still blending where it needs to be. And I think that's what matters the most. That looks good on number 1. Let's look at number 2. So we'll start from the torso, work our way down there. There you go. closer look. Blending looks nice. Look at that. Excellent. I wish all Godzilla toes looked like this when it came to their blending effects. Not all of them have this. Some of them do a dirty or dry brush. This is nice though. That looks good. All right, let's do number 3. Number 3 is looking good too. Maybe a little bit heavier on the blending at the base. It's not so bad though when it's a little heavier. As long as it's blended well, it's not too bad of a thing. I think 3's is a little bit darker though. And then let's look at number 4 here. Might be a little bit lighter on number 4's. Yeah. Let's zoom in. Yeah, it might just be a little bit lighter on the tips, but the blending still looks good. Yeah, I'm digging what I'm seeing here. Looks like there might be a little bit of a paint chip at the tip of that one right there. Yeah. So for the most part, not bad. Okay. One bad little chip on one versus the rest looking pretty good. It's pretty solid right there. Let's look at the tail. And then after we're done looking at the tail here, we will go into articulation. We'll see how that looks. So here's the tail. Sometimes with these figures, it's hit or miss on the smaller dorsals. As it gets smaller, the coverage gets a little caked on sometimes. There's some spots where it looks like the coverage could have been better, like right here, could have been a little bit better, but some parts a little caked on, like this one right here, a little bit brighter. But it looks good all the way up to, you know, right when you lose that middle part that's kind of gray, that's when it kind of gets a little caked on and blending a little bit. But for the most part, it's not bad. For number 1, it's not bad. Let's look at number 2. So here is number 2's. Part of the issue with the Heisei tails is that they have this inner segment when it comes to articulation, and these segments right here, they can inhibit what needs to be moved, because everything else that moves so well in the MonsterArts line is that the tails are kind of sheathed over one another, but here they're not sheathed. This part will be flush with this part, and that's why the Heisei tail doesn't really work so well for these figures, is because of that. If they included longer joints throughout this, you could get a little bit more range throughout that, but they keep them so close together so that they don't break up the sculpt. So that's why they don't have as much articulation compared to some other releases, like the Showa ones. The Showa ones tend to sheath into one another, and the Millennium one, same thing. So I don't know if there's really too much to fix it other than just coming up with a new joint system where it's not so tightly knit like this. This is number 3. second, guys. I'm just reloading the chat so I can see what you guys are saying. All right. Yep. So this is number 3. It's not looking bad. Let's a little bit more caked on in some areas, like right here on top. It's not so, a little bit too much. I feel like I'm nitpicking though when I'm just talking about these points because it really doesn't, it's not that big of a deal to me. I know it's a big deal to some people, but to me it's not that big of a deal. We got number 3 here. Let's look at number 4. Yeah, I think number 1 had the best overall blend throughout everything. But number 4 is not so bad either. Yeah. Okay. So there they are, guys. That was our variance comparison. Now we're going to go into articulation demonstration. But before we do that, let me just get this one out here. I'm going to take a bit of a water break. It's a little bit warmer than usual, so forgive me for taking a small little break. 1 second. Let's look at the chat really quick. Take a small break here, guys. All right, when is the 2002 Godzilla movie release date? It's going to be soon. Can't tell you when, though. But it's coming. I could see it being announced for the next month or two. Yeah. We're almost caught up with the announcements that were done over there at Tamashii Nation 2025. They just announced Odo Island, Godzilla, so all that's left is the 2 MGP figures, and then we enter the unknown, where we don't know what's coming. Let's see here. RoboLizard says, I'd be super excited for a 2.0 Heisei design. He's so stiff, but a posable one would be dope. Yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens. Like, if they do a 2.0 of the 1994 figure, I hope that they do it well, do justice. It is the 15th anniversary of S.H.MonsterArts, so hopefully they'll do something with that figure. Yeah, some of my Heisei have tail problems. Yeah, I mean, it's not so much as a problem as it is just the nature of its design, which I guess is problematic at the end of the day, but there's not much you can do other than just maybe extending joints. Like, I look at Haya's figure, for example, and I think that they use a floating joint system throughout, so all the pieces are just kind of floating, is what I understand. But for MonsterArts, it's just a socket system, so nothing's floating. It's just one socket connects to another, and when it's flush like that with the body, the sculpt, it kind of makes it difficult to do without having those longer joints. I don't own the 1989 Haya figure though, so I don't really have 100% knowledge of that. I just know based off of what I've seen. I wonder if Biollante will return in this line. I think so, but you know, we're on the 3rd Heisei run right now, and Biollante's just gotten only 2. So I think that, and it's been 7 years since special color version was released, so it could happen. We could be getting another Biollante Decisive Battle version, right? Okay. All right, guys. Let me just get back. Let's get back into our articulation demonstration now, yeah? Let's do that. We all like to see what articulation looks like on these guys. Okay. So, we're going to use figure number 3 as an example today. Actually, you know what? Yeah, you know what? We're going to save the accessories for last this time around, because it's a lot to do. So let's do articulation first. Let's zoom in on the head right there. So first things first, we've got the main head right here. You can tilt Godzilla's head quite a bit, actually. You can go left, you can go to right. A lot of the movement comes from the neck than it has the actual head itself. The head doesn't actually have any additional articulation by the back of the skull or anything like that, which is, you know, it's what they do for this particular figure. The mouth, you know, opens and closes. It is on a ball joint, so you can give it a little slack jaw if you want. Not as much as 2004's, but it can happen right there, right? So, but you got some give. You can also kind of pull it in, push it out, sort of thing. So, but I tend to push it in because otherwise you see how much further that goes out like that? It's not that great. So I just kind of push it back in there to, and you could open it up really wide. I think it's kind of goofy that wide, so I like to open them, you know, a little bit more than, a little bit like that actually. That's like the sweet spot for me. But as far as the upward and downward motion goes, you know, the figure can't look up. That's one of the things about the 89 figures, that's as high as it goes. And that's because of the back right here, the dorsals, they just kind of stick. So there's not much you can do about that. But as far as looking down goes, you know, you can move, this is just this section alone, you can move that down, and then you can move the neck even further down like that. So look at that. It's insane. But yeah, you can get that neck to really look down. He's basically, that is touching the chin right there. So, but incredible movement downward. Definitely that downward. But as far as upward goes, you're gonna get stopped by these dorsals on the back. As far as twisting goes, you can twist the head pretty far. You can twist it all the way around like that. If you want it to keep its proportions though, you know, that's probably a good stopping point like that. You know, get him to look backwards a little bit. So, but you can go more extreme. You can tilt it even further. So there's some great tilt. You got some great tilt action right there. So there's that. As far as torso articulation goes, you know, you've got this right here. Let me zoom out a little bit for this part. So as far as torso articulation, it's not a lot really. It's like very small. You know, for 1989, as far as the back goes, like that's it. First tilt up and down. So as far as ab crunch goes, that's it. So to demonstrate that with it sitting straight like that, that's kind of it for its tilt. It's not that far, just that much. As far as twisting goes though, no dorsals will get in the way when you do twisting action, but the problem is that there is part of the upper sheath of the hip right there kind of goes up. So as far as twisting goes, it's kind of really non-existent. Like you can get a little bit of twist, but not a lot. Even bending forward and bending backwards and twisting, it's very minute. Yeah, very, very minute. So not too much torso. Like you can see I'm doing some tilting right there up and down, but left and right, not so much. And that's because of these upper parts that kind of get in the way. Now, if you heated this up and you wanted the plastic to be more malleable, you can probably get it to twist a little bit more. But that's your call if you want to do that. As far as the, sorry, I got to stand up. Legs are starting to cramp. When I'm doing this, I have to kind of squat in a way. So my legs are cramping up because last night I was doing a film shoot with the Destroyer figures and I am feeling the pain and the burn today. Okay, so as far as arm articulation goes, you know, you got your basic swivel right here. The hands, they're on a ball joint. Depending on which way you face them, they can move those wrists pretty well. You can go pretty wild with this. You can do the T-pose if you want. You can go that far. As far as the socket goes, you know, you can twist it. It's got that joint right there with the sheath on top of that to kind of cover it up, but you can twist this all the way around just like so. So you got plenty of movement right there. As far as the elbow bend goes, we all like our elbow bends, right? It's pretty decent. It's not bad for a Heisei Godzilla. Again, this is like a drop joint kind of thing, so you can push that up in there to close that gap if you need to, so it doesn't look so ugly or anything. So same thing with the other arm. Let's see here. This one looks good. You can do the same thing on that one. T-pose it up. It's got a little bit of a bend though. Yeah, there you go. It's not bad. But you see how it goes up and down like that. As far as like inward outwards goes, you know, you can do that. It's a little tight at first. You might want to wake up the joints with some heat though with this guy, especially up here in the shoulder area. It's a little stiff, but you can get it as far as close together, you know, it's pretty close. You can get that pretty close like that. It's not bad. So again, you can close this gap, like you just have to push it up in there. That's it. Okay, now it's closed. So there's that. Let's look at the feet here. Now I think the 1989 feet and leg system is pretty good. It's just, if anything, it's just as good as the 95 Godzilla, but it's got the sheaths right here to kind of cover up those gaps, right? So as far as these legs go, you can get them really spread out. Look at that. Really spread out right there. You can actually get a decent bend too with it. You've got plenty of range movement right here at the legs. So let's just look at this really quick. So you can make the leg go up. YS, that's for Yuji Sakai. That's his little signature right there. But you can twist this around just like that. It goes 360 degrees. So yeah, so you can twist that. Just be careful about the sheath though. You don't want to twist your sheath at the same time because it can look a little funky. As far as the, let's see here, let's just do the movement right here. You can, just so you guys can see that I'm holding the thigh so you can see the, so it's not bad. Got some decent knee bend right there. That's really good. Ankle bend on this figure was not that great though, if I recall, and I think that not much has changed still. So yeah, it's pretty stiff. Yeah, it's pretty stiff like that. You got a little bit of a rocker, not too much. It's very stiff though. As far as like movement with it going upward and downward. Let's see, I'm trying to hold this still. Yeah, it's not too much. Very minimal. The 1991 improved that dramatically though. So you can actually get this guy pretty posed out. If I remember one of my older photographies, like you can get like almost like a sumo pose. Let me see here. Now look at that. You can get him really to bend it out. For a character that mostly sits straight, like you can get some decent bend on that right there. And if you bend him over, like you can have him really, I think I can actually get him to go even further. Yeah, look at that. Again, he can't look up or anything, so I just pose this up in such a way. Yeah, look at that. Bending all the way down like that. Yeah. So you can get some decent bend on there, for sure. Yeah, he signed, RoboLizard writes, he says, I didn't know that Yuji Sakai signed 89. Has he done that before for other figures? He has done it for other figures. I don't know if it's for this line he's done it, though. For his X Plus stuff, I think he's done it, though. Don't sumos place their palms and their knees, palms, I mean, probably. You could probably do that with this figure, too. Because, like, yeah, look at that. I mean, it's got some... I mean, it looks awkward like that right there. It's also going to throw off the balance. But he can touch his knees and everything. Let me get him posed back up, though, into more of a neutral pose. So, but I'm impressed with the legs. The legs look really great on this. The arms, too, they can go all the way back. I don't think I showed you guys this right here. The arms, they can go all the way backwards like that, too. So, that's pretty cool. Let's look at the tail articulation now. So the tail articulation is okay. I'm gonna have to stand up for this part right here. Can he do the drop kick pose? I mean, he can do a high kick, you know? He can do something like that. So let's look at the tail, though. Let me just pop out my screen because I have to do this while I'm standing up. Okay, so here's the tail. I like to just hold them by the tip and just see what we can do. So as far as the tail movement goes, yeah, it gets a little restricted towards the middle like that. Nothing's popping off though. Usually it's not a good sign if they pop off so easily just by doing this simple movement, but this is pretty good. As far as going upwards, looks like the maximum is about that much. Going upwards, about that much. Let me move this a little bit further back. Yeah, so that's the maximum for going upwards. Downwards is a little bit, oh, nope. We got a breakage. As far as downward goes, it's not, you're not gonna get much, honestly. You'll get it more towards the tip of the tail. Yeah, that's kind of it. Because the problem is that these parts, they're flush with each other right here. So you're not gonna get it going down any further than basically that. Going downwards, not that much. As far as side to side goes, let's see. Yeah, you're gonna get some contention right there of that falling off. So let me see. I don't think we're gonna get that much. Yeah, that's kind of it. Again, it's because these joints from the parts of the sculpt they're touching right here, you can't bend it more than that. That's kind of it. Yeah, that's it. So this figure isn't known for improving the tail by a whole lot compared to the 1995 figure. If I were to heat this up, I could probably get a little bit more range out of it. Let's try it, actually. Don't do this at home with the heat gun, guys. Use a hairdryer. I just use a heat gun because it's very fast. All right, let's see how much, oh, nope. Yeah, I think that's as far as that joint's gonna go before popping out. You could, hypothetically, rearrange parts of the segments so they bend a little bit more, but that's kind of it. You kind of need both hands to do this process right here. And just so you know, it's just, the only reason why it's popping out like that is because I'm really, really forcing it, you know? That's it. That's as far as that bend's gonna go. Yeah. That's it for the 89 figure right there. So, not too much. The 91 figure's tail definitely takes a step in the right direction though. I don't know exactly what they did to make it more bendable, but they did a pretty good job. So, but that is the tail articulation right there. So, but you see, moving it like this, like nothing's popping off. It's only because I was really forcing it. Okay. So with that being said, oh, I see a comment here. Thank you guys for pricing Godzilla 1975 at $109. I'm not Bandai, but you're welcome, I guess, from me to them, to you. I don't have nothing to do with the pricing on these guys right here. So, but you can thank the Supreme Court for that. The Supreme Court struck down those tariffs, and hopefully we'll be seeing lower prices in the future. So, okay. So with that being said, all right. So we've done articulation. Now we're going to go into the poster art, and this is the part that I've just kind of been putting off until the very end because it is a whole process to do everything, but I'm going to show you guys the best way to do this whole thing. So give me 1 second here, and let me get the first one. Where did I put it though? Okay. So here's what it looks like when you get these guys. It's going to come like this. Okay. The best way to get this out is you're going to fold it to pop it out. Okay. So when you do this, let me bring up the camera so that we're kind of looking down. Okay. I think this will be fine. Okay. So when we're doing this process right here, what you're going to do is you're going to take this right here and you're just going to fold it. This is the easiest way to pop this guy out. So take it right here. You're just going to fold it along the line, right? Just like that. Flip it over, fold it again. And it's just going to pop off just like a natural thing. Same thing for the top part. Fold it a little bit. Don't go too far because there's more over here. So you just want to fold it a little bit, flip it over, do that. Now you're going to do this top part right here. Fold it, flip it over again, fold it again. And then the last part, you're going to fold this over like that. And then you're going to fold it upside down again and fold it over. And voila, it pops out just like that. that is the easy part. So this is what it looks like. Once when you get it all cut out and everything, it's gonna look like this. So not so bad. And when I say not so bad, I'm talking about the cutout of this right here. You can do it where you try with an X-Acto knife to cut along the edges right there to try and minimize this. But honestly, from the examples that I did earlier, if you do this fold out method, it actually minimizes these little edges as much as possible. Now, I was looking at some online resources when it came to punch out cards like this, and believe it or not, there's a lot of collector communities out there saying that they do not recommend cutting these parts. But this is mostly like for trading cards. Apparently that's a big deal to keep this on there. For Monster Arts collectors, it's a little bit different, you know? I feel like some of us want a nice clean cut of all this. And I will talk about how I did one of these where it's a clean cut. So, but this is how you do that fold out method right there. And I have another one where I punched it out by hand. So this is what it looks like when you punch it out just by hand, just by pumping out a little bit. It's got a little bit more debris on the sides, a little bit more. But the idea is that you can display this easy peasy. Let's go over how to pop this one out right here. Now this is the harder part, is getting this to pop out. I recommend either using an X-Acto knife to help you out or some hobby tweezers like this when you go ahead and pop this out. Because unfortunately you can't fold this one like how I did it a second ago. You can't fold it all the way because it's got edges right there. So I would recommend, you know, just doing the pop out method like this. So you can bend a little bit to kind of get yourself started. But when you get to parts like this, you're gonna need your little hobby tweezers. And you're gonna wanna push on this part right here to kind of pop it out. You don't have to push too hard, just have to push enough, right? And if you need to, bend it a little bit to kind of break up that perforation. The idea is that you wanna just gently go back and forth when you do this part. And then use that tweezer to kind of pop it out a little bit. See how I did that? So now it's out loose. And then you just kind of continue. Especially down here, and go back and forth. In areas that are lined up flat like this, you can get away with that little bend trick that I did. So you could bend this forward, bend it backwards, and see how it just pops off like that. That's going to be the best way to do these parts right here. You just want to do this very carefully, not hard at all, okay? Just nice and easy. Just bend it back and forth. That's the best thing I can recommend, is just doing this light bend back and forth until you get it to lose its perforation right there. Again, the trickier parts, it's going to be this piece right here. So you want to go back, forth, and then use your little tweezer right here to help you pop out this part right here. Once you get that corner loose, you have a little bit more give. The thing is that these are coated with like an extra layer of plastic, kind of, or not plastic, but cardboard material, and you'd want to be careful when you're popping this out because some of it kind of tends to stick around and tear. So try not to tear it your best, right? So there's that. And then see, I'm doing this part right here. I can fold it in and out. Makes it easier to pop out. Same thing with the top right here at the top. Fold inward. See what I'm talking about? If you bend this, if I were to continue this right here, it would rip the black coating on top. So we don't want to do that. So same thing here. And then we'll bend it forward the other direction to kind of help break the perforation. See that? Nice and easy. Just be careful. Just be careful. Again, use your little hobby tweezers or X-Acto knife. I think the hobby tweezers are probably better for this part because they're not a sharp edge like that hobby knife is. Pop that out on that side right there. And then these are the scary ones right here because these ones are the tiniest ones. So you got to be very, very careful. You see that? It's very, very difficult to get off that. There you go. All right, we got that loose. Some of you might be getting anxiety off of this. I apologize if you are. I'm trying my best to get it off. Okay, that's it. So this will be the toughest part right here to get it off. And then after that, just kind of, if you have any parts that are still hanging on, you know, just bend a little bit more, and there it is. It's all off. Ta-da! So this is it. So this is it right here. We've got the whole piece out now. It's important, when we were looking at the manual earlier, it said to fold it a certain direction. Now you're gonna see this line right here. This line on this side is indented. Yeah, I don't know if I can get it to view, but let me shine a light, actually. It might be easier. Hold on a second, guys. Okay. So you see how the line is kind of indented right there? That's the part you fold along right there. On the back side, it pops up. This is the folding seam right there. See how it's popped up? So when you fold it, you want to make sure that the popped out seam is facing the back. Okay? So make sure it's facing backwards like this. And when you fold it, it's pretty easy. It's not hard. Just fold it in ever so gently. You don't have to fold a lot. You just have to fold it enough. Because the back seam right here, it's got that extra punch out right there, so it's not going to break. It's not going to break the, it's not going to tear any of the seam right there. So that's why it's important to do it from this side. So then you bend it. You don't have to bend it all the way closed, just enough, you know, just to do that. And then there's your stand. And then you're going to take your card right here. When you hook it in, it goes on the bottom, like so. And to hook it up on top, let me show you a side profile review of it. All you do is you bend your card inward like this, and then you pop it in like that. And there's your display. So I'll show it one more time. You bend your card downward. You might need to help guide it a little bit, but you do that. And there it is. There's the card. Give me 1 second, guys. I got a light that just went out. Let me just change out my lights. One second. Probably have to change out this other one too in a minute. Okay. As I was saying, so yeah, so let me do it one more time for you guys. So when you pop this in, it goes on the bottom, and then you just bend it inwards like this, and you can guide it on the top right here to kind of fold over, and that's basically it. And when you have your Godzilla next to it, how does it scale? This card is big, it's not small by any means. So when you're comparing them both, let me just bring the camera down here. So there it is. This is how they go together right there, just like that. If I stick them side by side, so it's definitely taller, pops out like that. Now, oh my second, guys. Let me just pull up the chat. Okay. Let me see if there's any questions about that. Yeah, somebody says, a Robo-Lizard here, you could take a black marker around the edges to reduce the fluffs. Yep, absolutely, you can do that as well. So this is one way to do it. And if you use the X-Acto knife, you can probably get it a little bit better, where it's not so much like that as well. But now I'm going to show you something else that I've done. If you want to take your display to the next level, If you want to take it to the next level, I have did a little custom job here, and I think this looks way more premium than what we have here. Is I've gone ahead and made it into an acrylic display. Yeah. So this is something that you can purchase on Amazon right here. It is just a little, I'll put a link in it into the description later, but it's just a little acrylic display. It's 5x7. The posters are unique in that they don't have, how you say, it's not an exact measurement. It's really a weird measurement, so it doesn't fit anything that's just on the US market. But this premium, I think this makes it look a lot more premium. You can just sit that in there, it's flat. You don't have to use the back on there. And the best part is you can go with both sides. You can just flip it around. Now you've got this side of it too. And in order to do this though, you have to do a little bit of a custom cutout. So I'm gonna show you what I mean. I have a Cry-Cut, it's like a cutting board kind of thing. And so I was able to cut along the lines, but you can see on mine right there, like right here, this is actually where the perforation is. Perforation's right there. But I had to cut a little bit extra off the black right there just to make it fit the 5x7. So all you need to do is just have that 5x7. It's really not that noticeable though, especially when you have it on display in the background and all that. I just think this looks a lot more premium. So if you end up getting if you end up getting these, all you need to really is just cut out a 5x7, you know, use a ruler, cut that on a piece of paper and use as a guide, outline it on these cards right there themselves, and then just get an X-Acto knife and just cut along that ruler. And then you can stick it in one of these guys right here, and it looks so much better. It looks so much better on your display. So I'm gonna be doing this for all of mine. And you don't even need that back piece anymore, because then you can just flip it around. The image on the backs, by the way, of these guys, these are from the movies. So this is the actual suit and everything. This is not the figure itself on the back. So pretty cool. And it's flippable and everything. I highly recommend doing it this way for your guys' displays if you want that extra premium look right there. So, but that is how that works and everything. So now, I didn't realize I had Russell or RoboLizard's comment up there. Okay, so yeah. So now we're gonna get into the comparisons of everything, guys. That was it for the accessories. Let's compare it to the original release now. So let me go grab that. I'm gonna grab the original and the 1989 event exclusive figure as well. And we'll just do a quick comparison of how these guys look. I know people are curious, like what's the big difference, right? How much more different are they? So let's find out. Let's get out the original here. All right, got the original. And then let me grab the event exclusive. Okay. All right. So we're going to do one at a time, and then I'll put them all on the table for everybody to see. So on the right is going to be our event exclusive. And then on the left is going to be the original 1989. All right, and there you go. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but right off the bat, I can definitely see the difference right there. So the original 1989 figure is more of a grayish blue coloration, and it's got a lot of weathering details. You can see them painted throughout the rest, the cracks and everything. A lot of different weathering details on the inside of it to make it look the way it looks. And this is why I feel like this one is the definitive version of it, because this is the way that I've always seen the 1989 suit, way it looks in the movie. I prefer it that way versus what the actual suit colors actually look like. That's what they're going for over here on the left. So, but let's look at the side profiles of that. Definitely The dorsal paint on this guy is just so much better than this one too. So much better. Just more preferable in my opinion. It's all going to be your preference, right? There's the back side of them. And then let's take a closer look at their heads and faces. Let me bring this up a little bit. All right, so here are the fronts right there. Again, the coloration's I just prefer the original so much more. The teeth are so white on this one compared to this one, which more of that bone coloration. As far as the blending goes, though, let's take a look at the back of the heads, because remember I mentioned the back of the heads, how it's kind of a little messy on that one. So you can see what I'm saying. It's more caked on the original, on the top of the head, and it's painted a lot better on the new one right there on the back of the head. It's not so clumped up. It's much better in that respect. Let's look at the nails here. Blending on the nails. Let me get a little bit closer. So it definitely looks a lot darker on the original. A little bit more unsaturated on the new one, but I still prefer the new ones over the originals. Let's look at the dorsals only, okay? So the dorsals on the original, they're much more of a lighter white coloration, whereas the new one is more of that traditional bone coloration that Godzilla is known for. So you can see that. And I just prefer this on the new in 1989. It's almost like there's a frosted look on the original. Of course, having the original at the time, you know, a lot of people are like, oh yeah, it looks good. But then when you see it with the MGP version, you're just like, I think I like the MGP. I mean, this is what my opinion is. I think the MGP just looks a lot better in this respect. Right? Look at that. So if you haven't ever been able to tell the differences between the colors in the other promotional photos, like, I mean, this is a pretty good example. You can see how much darker that MGP version is versus the old original. So let's look at the toes now. Let's look at the toes. Again, the weathering effects, they're more present on the original. You can see that they have different tones painted throughout. Doesn't exist so much on the new one. Let's look at the toes though. So they're definitely darker on the original. Actually, I think that they're even painted more colorfully. How's that for a twist? So on the new one, the nails are more of this coloration. They're that pale color, right? But on the old one, the toes are a lot more paler on the original, and then on the new one, they're more saturated in coloration. But I like it. I think this looks good. You know what you could probably do is probably just swap the hands with each other right there, and yeah. So, but yeah, that's the toe coloration right there. It's definitely darker though. Definitely darker. Even more blending, really, on the original right there. And let's look at the tails. So the MGP is the one that's in the foreground. Yeah, so this piece just got turned around all the way. Let's zoom in on that. So yeah, I mean, there's definitely more of a overspray on the original right there. Definitely more of an overspray. It's more exact on the MGP. Definitely. way more exact with its paint. So that's how those guys look together. Let's compare it with the event exclusive edition now. So the event exclusive uses translucent dorsals in the back. So obviously that's going to be different, right? But the teeth even get whiter. So let's get these guys in the master shot here for you. So that's what they look like. The skin gets a little bit darker on the event exclusive. It's not as bright as the original, but it's not as dark as the newest either. And then let's take a look at those teeth. So yeah, the teeth are like just pure white this time around on the event exclusive. And I'm not a big fan of that, honestly. The eye paint though is a little bit more similar in its coloration. It was more of a saturated brown on the original. Yeah. But it's definitely much more white. Let's look at the backs. See the paint application on the back of the heads right there. Now, I think the overspray is acceptable this time around on the event exclusive because it's supposed to emulate more of a light up effect. So I think it's more acceptable this time around. So, but let's look at the chest, the front of the chests here. This one, you don't see a lot of the weathering effects that we saw with the original, because it is a darker coloration, although there is a bit of a white. It's a bit brighter in some areas, so you can see the shading, how it gets a little bit more whitish gray and then a darker gray, but it is supposed to be a little bit darker. These ones, honestly, on camera, it's harder to tell the differences between the two colorations of this one, but I promise you this one is a little bit brighter than this one, just a little bit. As far as the claw paint goes, though, let's see that. Very similar. Very similar. Yeah, they're not too different, actually, in terms of the coloration and the way that the blending has been applied. Yeah, not too different. Let's look at the dorsals here. The dorsals, of course, you know, you've got translucent blue versus, you know, that bone coloration. So I think if there's any two figures that you wanted to do to own of 89, it's definitely the MGP and the event exclusive, because you've got more of that accurate, scene accurate coloration right there. And then you've got, of course, a heat ray effect right there, or at least a charging. Remember, it's charging. But even if we look at the dorsals that aren't charging, they're actually pretty much the same color. Look at that. They're pretty much the same coloration on MGP and the new one. There is a little bit more overspray. There's a little bit more overspray on the event exclusive. That's kind of similar to how the original was done. But the coloration is pretty much the same. Let's look at the toes. So here's the toes. Just as dark as the original, honestly, for the event exclusive. It's definitely darker. So they definitely went brighter on the newest version. They're definitely brighter towards the tips, whereas the original and the event exclusive kind of err on the darker side. I think they're too dark on the event exclusive, though. Let's get them more side by side like that. Yeah. Definitely too dark in my opinion. I like how we got it now. Yeah, that's much better. So, yeah. So that is our comparison. Now let's get all three of them in the shot here. I'm going to put the new MGP in the middle, and I'm going to put the original. Let's do it like this. Original on the left, event exclusive on the far right, and MGP in the middle. So here they all are. in the same frame. Now that you're seeing all three of them in the same frame, you can see the coloration, how it changes, right? So much brighter in coloration over here on the original. The event exclusive is still a little bit brighter, but not as dark, but this one is all the way dark. You do lose a lot of the weathering effect painted effects that this one has, the original, but I think this one looks the most ideal still. So that is our comparison of the original and all that good stuff right there. All right, let me look at the chat really quick here. How much is this guy going to cost? So this one right here, our Movie Graphic Plus, excuse me, I can get this. Yeah, how much is this going to cost? The Movie Graphic Plus figure is $135. It was issued at a time when the tariffs were a lot higher. Even though the tariffs have come down in price, they have not adjusted that. So, but it's $135 MSRP. The body paint on this one with the dorsal plate, so the SDCC version would be peak. Yeah, if you wanted to do some cosmetic surgery right there, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, guys, we are now entering the part of the stream where we are doing comparisons with other figures in the line. Go ahead and write them down in the chat, and I will go ahead and get them out for us. For the first one, though, I'm going to bring out is the obvious. We're going to bring out the 1989 Biollante. So let me go grab that. While I'm grabbing this, now is a good time for you guys to write in the chat who you want to compare with. Just a heads up, I will not be able to compare some of the newer releases because I'm currently working on a project right now, and some of them are reboxed because of this. So this includes like Godzilla 2000, King Ghidorah 1972, the Burning Godzilla 70th anniversary. Will not be able to get to those at this time, but I can pull out other ones. So here is Biollante. So this is the original Biollante release. Oh, here we go. Curveball of a suggestion, but I've always been curious about the red eyes in comparison to their Godzilla figures. Ah, the red eyes Black Dragon. Maybe I'll bring that one out. King Ghidorah 1991, yeah, for sure. Let's take a look at that. Okay. Okay, so let's zoom in on that. There's 1989 Biollante. Again, this is the original release. So there's that. While we're here, since it's really close by, that's with Biollante. This is going to be with the new Destroya figure. Yeah, looks good. They look good together. They sure do. Okay. Let's take a look at the list here. We got Shimo on the list here. We got a couple of Heisei reps. Let me see what I can do. Let me go grab. One second. saw Heisei Ghidorah on the list over there, so I'm gonna grab that one out first. I had mine in a flight pose, so I'm gonna have to readjust some stuff. So we can get it just standing normal. All right, so that was Destroya. Here is the Heisei King Ghidorah. Remember that the 1989 figure is actually smaller than the 1991 figure by just a little bit. Despite the information online saying it's 6.3 inches, it's more like 6.2 really. So, but here is King Ghidorah there mixed with 1989 Godzilla. Yeah, it's true. It's very true. It's not an unboxing stream until somebody requests some sort of King Ghidorah to come out. That's for sure. All right, let's get some. Let's see what else we can grab out of here. I saw a Mothra request and a Batra request. One second here. I have these placed in such a way that they're hovering over the other figures in my display cabinet. So the first one I'm going to show you is Mothra first. That's Heisei Ghidorah. Let's do Mothra. Oh, you know what? I forget that this stand for Mothra needs to be tightened. One second. Let me just get that cradle in the right spot. Make sure that it doesn't fall over. There we go. So there's our Heisei Mothra. And get its wings posed up. There we go. There's our Heisei Mothra. All right, and then we'll get Batra out here. Boy, I haven't posted Batra in a long time. I need to Kiki fix some parts of this guy. All right, so here's Mothra. Here is, oh no, there he goes. One second. I have some blue tack on the bottom of it to make sure it doesn't actually fall over or fall off the cradle. That's a fun little hack that you can do. So there's Batra. They're looking gorgeous there. Yeah, somebody commented on the Mothra looking a lot bigger than she expected. I believe that it's actually bigger than the Super 7's Mothra too. There's Batra. Somebody said Shimo. Let me grab Shimo. All right, here is Shimo. This Shimo has been custom painted by myself. And when I say custom painted, all I did was just add weathering details to it. So there's Shimo. Shimo's big, ginormous. Let's see what else we can get out here. If I can, I will bring this one out. Okay, somebody asked for it, they're gonna get it. We're gonna get Legion in its flight form. Bring that out. It's so big. It's so big. I have to move the camera back. Yeah. Legion is a very, very big figure. What else do we have on our list here? Regarding Shimo, hold on. Let me get to this comment here. You know the figure has no details even when Task needs to put details in it. You know, it's got the details in it, you just got to bring it out, that's all. And unfortunately, I think that it lacked weathering for sure. But it still has it. I'll tell you this, the Shimo figure does look better in person than it ever did on camera. It doesn't show any of the pearlescent on camera at all for some reason. Let's see here. We've got a request for Gamera 1995. Give me 1 second. Oh, what do we got here? Hey, thanks. $5 chat for bringing out Legion. Yeah, it's such a big dog. Hey, thank you so much for that. I really appreciate that. All right, let me go grab Gamera 1995. This is a figure that isn't on display particularly at a lot of places because it was never distributed in the US. It only was released in Japan. Let me make sure I grab the right one. That's not it. Ah, here we are. You know what? I'm going to throw you guys a little bone. I will also bring out 1991 Godzilla as well. All right, so this is the 1995 Gamera. Let me just remove this Legion really quick because it's such a big figure. I have a second one that I haven't opened up yet because it's also undergoing a project for me. I'm going to do an instructional video on how to do transformation of that because it doesn't seem to be one online anywhere. So I'm going to do that for everybody. But also, I just picked up a second one because I wanted to have both forms displayed. All right, so here is the 1995 Gamera. Thank you so much, Robo Lizard. compared to a glass of water. That's funny. How about his iris? I'll see if I can get to iris. Okay. So that's Gamera 1995. I'm looking forward to whenever they do a decisive battle version. I'd like to see what that's going to look like. That's the back of it. Front of it. Let's look at 1991 Godzilla now. Compare that. 1991 Godzilla makes a lot of dramatic improvements on its sculpt and everything, especially the ankle bend. So there is the 1991 Godzilla. I have mine's bent. You know what? Let me unbend these. I had mine posed so it's looking up right at King Ghidorah, Mecha King Ghidorah. Let me just get this one posed up here. So you can see that it's just a little bit taller than the 1989 figure. Just a little bit. Not by much. But that's okay, because if we think about in the movies, you know, it is bigger than 1989. But that's 1991. We'll flip them around. 1991 Godzilla also has that charcoal gray bluish color. If they ever do a decisive battle or MGP of this figure, I would hope that it does the similar black coloration. So the original 1989 figure actually pairs with this one quite well, if you were going for paint consistency and everything. So, but that's 1991. Let's see here. Who else is on our list? Let me take a look here. Always listed like the Shinjuku suit more than I do like. I'm with you on the Shinjuku one, looks better, but I do appreciate that the Hokkaido suit does look a lot different to break up. Train Door says, oh yeah, Tess, my 1991's jaw ball joint fell out and won't come on. I might have shown it in the Discord, but do you have any idea what to do? Yeah, so that ball joint it's too long. And that's why it falls out. So if you close the mouth all the way, that's when it tends to fall out. You're gonna need something like hobby tweezers, something like this, to help you put that back in there. That's the only way that I've been successful doing it. So something like this is gonna help. I think I even threw a link on them in the that server too. So that's what you're gonna need. Godzilla 2019. Hey, that's a good one. Let me go grab that. Godzilla 2019. All right, give me 1 second. I also have my 2019 Godzilla here posed up, roaring at King Ghidorah, so it's going to be looking up. All right, here is the 2019 Godzilla. There's your 2019 Godzilla. Give me 1 second. There we go. Yeah, I've got some Haya figures. I'll bring out a couple. Let me just go into the other display. Let's see here. Where do I have the Haya figures at? Oh, yeah, that's right. I put them all the way in the darkest corner. I just grabbed the first one that was easily accessible. So this is the Haya Toys. This is the Haya Toys Burning Battle version. So there's that. I haven't opened up the MGP Shin Godzilla just yet, but during that stream, we will compare. How's that sound? All right, bringing out Godzilla Jr. Sure, I'll get out Jr. for that. Just let me just update the light situation really quick. One second, guys. I'll be right back. Okay. Save power by operating off the battery. Okay, let's grab Junior. Junior's a nice one. And then who else? I'm going to also grab our other Heisei Godzilla in the collection here. And Little Godzilla. And I saw a request for Space Godzilla. We'll bring out Space Godzilla again. After these guys, we're going to do 2 more requests for display purposes here and for comparisons, and then we'll move into the more relaxing part of the stream, which is just fan questions and stuff. So let's look at Space Godzilla first. There he is. So there's our Space Godzilla. And then let's take a look at the original 1994 Godzilla. So this one for sure is actually shorter. When they did this one, it was, I believe, 6.1 inches tall. So it is actually shorter. Once when they did 1995, that's when they bumped it up to 6.3 inches. So, but that's what they look like there. Man, I really want them to do a 2.0 of that figure, especially for this year. This is their big anniversary. They gotta do it. Okay, and then here is Junior. And then we have our Little Godzilla as well. I have him posed up so he's crouched behind Space Godzilla in the display. Okay, who else can we take out here? We'll bring out 1972 Godzilla. And then I'll look at the chat for the rest. And then here is 1972 Godzilla. Mine has been customized where I cut out parts of the mouth so that it can have a closed mouth. Let me bring this a little bit closer. You guys can see them a little bit better. Yeah. So there's 1975. Can't wait for 1972, I mean. I can't wait for 1975. All right, and then let me look at the chat. What else do we got? Just a couple more. I have not brought out Red Eyes. I'll bring out Red Eyes. In Mechagodzilla 2021, I have him boxed up for that project I was talking about too. Basically everything, I should just say, everything that was released in 2025 is all boxed up right now because I'm doing a ranking video for 2025. Now that I have the Destroy, I can do a proper ranking video. So look forward to that. Let me grab out Red Eyes really quick. So here is the Red Eyes Black Dragon. One second, I have to kind of refinagle that one. Okay. This figure does not like to stand on its own. You will have to Kiki fix it if you own it because it's intended to actually to be in flight mode all the time. So that's why it comes with the flight stands. But I did go through and Kiki fix this up. So, but that is Red Eyes right there. Let me move these guys a little bit further back. One second. The problem with this figure is it's so fluid in its movement and everything. So you gotta really find the sweet spot. But there's Red Eyes. It's such a dark figure though. Like I'm gonna boost up my brightness just so you can see it a little bit better, but yeah. It's such a dark figure. So, let me see what else is in the chat here. Yeah, Red Eyes is a big figure. Even Blue Eyes is also big too. Okay. Oh yeah, Mechagodzilla 2021. Let me see. Do I have that one out? I might have the... I have the original Mechagodzilla 2021. One second. Yeah, I've got the original Mechagodzilla 2021 out. Give me a second. I had this propped up in a certain way, and the cat has decided that it's going to rub itself on Mechagodzilla. So we had a little bit of cat fuzz, cat fur on him. All right, so here is Mechagodzilla 2021. This is the first version of it. Yeah, Mechagodzilla 2021 is a big figure, 7.5 inches tall. All right, let's see, one more. I'm gonna do one more, guys. One more. Let's see here, did I miss anything else? Somebody wrote, I didn't think you had any Haya, to be honest. Of course. I like to pick up anything that, you know, if it's something that I want in my collection, I'll pick it up. And I like all of the Monsterverse representatives that they are doing with Haya figures. So I'm making sure that I pick up every single one of those. But as far as the Toho Classics, I don't need any of those. So I'm good with the MonsterArts. Iris, yes. Let me see if I can get Iris out. Iris is another big one. Oh, you know what? I need a stepping stool for this one because this is like up real high. Yep. 1 second. Gotta go grab the step stool. I have like so many different display areas for these guys, so I have to... Sometimes I have to go really high to get some of these. Okay. Let's get Iris down. Iris is way up there, up high. Give me 1 second, guys. Bringing it around. All right, here is Iris. Iris is huge. Well, it's only huge in the fact that there's just tentacles and stuff. There's so much of that going on there. What's going on with that light? That light's tripping out. One second, guys. I have a light that's tripping out on me. Uno momento. This one's flickering, and I have no idea why. That's never happened before. So 1 second. Sometimes you just need to change the batteries, and that fixes the problem. There we go. Okay, sorry about that. All right, so yeah, there's Iris. Big, big, big. Okay, one more figure. Why not? One more. Let's see what else. Yeah, I don't know. Iris might be a one and done figure like Legion is. A glass of water. If I had a glass of water, I'd bring it out. I don't have any of that right now. Everything we drink out of here is all from a bottle. You know what? A collection room tour? Oh boy. My collection is more storage than it is display. I'll put it that way. Because where I'm at right now, it is getting cramped. We got both Iris and Legion out today. Yes, you did. Okay. Okay, just for that comment, I will bring out 2019 Ghidorah, and then we're going to wrap it up for our comparison. So let me take Iris back, and I will go get 2019 Ghidorah because you made a point. We got out almost all the big ones, right? So we got to get out 2019 Ghidorah. I'm doing this for you all, chat. Doing it for you. Just get Iris back up in its ceiling floor here. All right. Oh, King Ghidorah. Oh, we gotta move stuff out of the way to get to you. 1 second, everybody. 1 second. Okay, so we are bringing out, this is the original 2019 King Ghidorah. Got Rodan's all tangled up in it. Give me 1 second here. I'm gonna have to, one of the tails popped off on the back of it right there, and it hasn't been popped in for a long time, so I'm gonna have to heat treat this really quick to get that tail back in. So 1 second. Let's get that heat treated here. Yeah, it doesn't like me. This figure doesn't like a lot of people. One of those figures that, by design, is not a great articulated figure. You're happy it exists, but at the same time, you're just like, ooh. Yeah. Anytime I've ever had trouble with the tails, though, the first thing I do is heat treat it to get that tail back on. All right, here it is. King Ghidorah. Big old 2019 figure. Goodness gracious. There it is. I have to move the camera back for that. So 2019 Ghidorah still remains the largest figure in the MonsterArts line. It's still bigger than Legion. Now, as far as volume goes, Legion takes the cake for that. But for as far as tallest goes and length and just presence on the shelf, you know, 2019 Ghidorah still serves that purpose. So, but there it is. There's our 2019 Ghidorah with Godzilla there. All right. We did it. We got it out and everything. How about that? All right, guys. So, let me just get this posed up. I like to do like a little fun action pose as we end here. All right. So, let's do some fun stuff with this here. Can't get too much of that going there, but yeah, there we go. It's a quick action pose, right? We like a little action. Okay. All right, everybody. So this concludes our variant stream and everything, but we're not done yet. We're just concluded with the actual comparisons and everything. At this point, I just kind of like to chill, relax. I go over here to the computer area and I'll just answer your guys' questions. You got some questions about anything in the line. It can be about these figures. It can be just about anything, really, honestly. And we'll just chill and relax, talk a little bit about that. This is my decompression time. So thank you. If you were just here for the stream and you just wanted to see all the variants and stuff like that, hey, thanks for sticking around. But if you want to stick around a little bit longer, just kind of chill with me, you are more than welcome to do that as well. So without further ado, let's look at our chat right here. All right. I'm beginning to regret asking for 19 Ghidorah so many times. It's becoming a tradition. You know what? We've skated by a couple times without having to bring it out. So, but yeah, he's big. Wait, so do you have a stack of boxes right next to you when you do these? Not boxes or anything. I don't know what you mean by boxes, but I don't have a stack of boxes. You know, everything is in a display case. So I have to go and pull them out of display because I don't know which ones you guys want to see. So maybe by height, but mass. Yep, exactly. Legion, definitely the biggest mass-wise. Yes, so Legion has magnets in its head so that it can help close those pincer parts in the head right there. So very neat. Yep, there it is. Yes, it does add some heft for sure. Do the stance pose from Godzilla Battle Line. I'm done for posing for now. But I can definitely probably do that. We love action in this house. Amen to that. Bottle of water time? Yeah, you know, I have a Red Bull right here and I'm gonna go grab some water though. Definitely. I definitely need some water. Thank you for the reminder. Drink some water, hydrate. I think you said in the 1975 Godzilla stream that at the moment 60s era kaiju aren't very likely. In that case, is the Final Wars roster on the table at all? So at the moment on the surveys, they only have a few Millennium Godzilla characters on display or on the list. They don't have every Final Wars character. They only have, let's see, as far as Final Wars go, I believe it's just Kaiser Ghidorah and Anguirus. That's it. There's nobody else. So if more people add them in the other category, then we're probably bound to see them. But for this, probably not, actually. And as far as the other Millennium monsters go, everybody's listed except for Godzilla 2003. So in the Tokyo SOS, you got Mothra listed as well. For the 2001 Godzilla, you have Mothra and Baragon listed. For the 1999 Godzilla, you have Orga as well. He's there. So, but yeah, that's kind of basically it for that. And when it comes to 60 stuff, none of it's listed for the 60s. It stops right at Godzilla 71. So nothing else before then. Yes, water. Yes, I keep forgetting. I just stood up to go grab it and I totally forgot. Because when Rodan, for example, Heisei is the only Toho Rodan they've done, and if they aren't going to do Showa Rodan in the near future, that would leave the Final Wars Rodan as the only one to do. Interesting. So the Final Wars Rodan was actually on the list at one point, but then they removed it. So I don't know what happened. It was there for 2 or 3 cycles on surveys, and then it got taken off the surveys. It's the first one that I've ever seen put on the list and then taken off the list. So not sure if people were just weren't voting for that one or not, but it's just been removed ever since then. So, and as far as other Rodans, of course, we have the Monsterverse Rodan that appeared once. And then, yeah, no other Showa characters, though. I know Rodan's got a big anniversary coming up, but doesn't seem like Toho's celebrating it just yet. They're focusing on Mothra this year. So we'll see if there's any Mothra stuff in the works. Good question, though. I got my water. Let's see here. Are there anything listed for Gamera stuff? I couldn't tell you. Even if there was, I couldn't tell you. Unfortunately, all that stuff is red tape, so can't answer questions about confirmation about upcoming figures, unfortunately. I hope we get a Mothra and Batra Larva set reissue soon. Man, if they do that, it's going to be the ultimate Mothra set, because I guarantee you that they're going to put all the adult forms and the larvas in one package. That's the only way that they're going to do it, because you've already had the larvas issued by themselves. You've also had the adults listed by themselves. You've also had it where the adults and their corresponding larva was listed. So I could see them doing the ultimate 4-pack for that, and it's going to cost quite a bit, in my opinion. About maybe easily $350, maybe $400. We'll see. I hope we get a Gamera 1995 Decisive Battle version. I think that it very well could happen, considering that the 1999 Gamera and the 1996 Gamera got Decisive Battle versions. So I think that it's a possibility that we could be seeing that, and we can finally get a Gauss in the line as well. So just kind of keep an eye out in the future. Being the 15th anniversary of MonsterArts, I think that they're going to be focusing a lot more on Godzilla this year than any other line. Can we see the water next to Godzilla? No, I'm not going to bring the water out. Oh. Got copyright stuff on there. Can't do that. So, if you guys have any other questions about Movie Graphic Plus, this is also a good time to ask those questions about how that's going to work. Let's see here. Let's see here. More Gamera Rebirth figures would be cool, like Zigra, Gurion. Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't venture out to the other ones, honestly. When they first did that, they did say the same thing with the anime Godzilla when it first came out. Same thing with well, Singular Point did have some supporting characters, but that's because there was some familiarity with those, like Rodan and Jet Jaguar. But I would like that too, honestly. Yeah, I would. Greek the bottle then. Greek the bottle? Then it's good? I don't know what that means. What are your top 3 favorite Godzilla designs? My favorite, I like to do them by era, right? So my favorite Showa era is the 1975 Godzilla, and we're finally getting that in this line. Awesome. My favorite for the Heisei series is the 1994 Godzilla. And then for Millennium, I would say that my favorite is... This is a tough one. I kind of tend to go back and forth, but I'm probably going to settle with the 1999 Godzilla. I wrestle that with one of the Kiryu Godzillas. But I think that if I have to pick a solid rep from the Millennium series, I like the 1999 Godzilla. I think that is a good rep to define that franchise, or to define that moment. Also, will any Movie Graphic Plus figures have accessories besides the cutout? No, they will not. They will only have the cutout unless they change their minds in the future. The idea is, as I said, if you missed it, you may have missed it in the beginning of the stream. The whole point of Movie Graphic Plus is that it's aimed towards people that have never collected Godzilla figures before. It's aimed at tourists. So they want these placed in very touristy areas, and the idea is that the draw is the poster art, because tourists are people that are not collectors. They're not maybe fans of Godzillas. These are people that are like, oh, I watched that a long time ago back in the day, and they might recognize the movie poster art, and then they see the figure, and they're like, hey, this is pretty cool, and then they pick up that figure. Their research basically says that these kind of folks don't care about accessories and all that. So the movie poster is the big draw. So they won't come with any accessories. This is what I'm told. No accessories, no allies, no villains, just Godzilla only. Are the MGP one and done, so to speak? They're general releases, so I think the intention is that they can be reissued anytime that they want. That's the idea behind it, is that they're supposed to be restocked and put in these touristy areas in Japan. It's a little different for the US. The US would piggyback right on this stuff. And I don't know if we're guaranteed to get the reissues. Hoping for 2019 and 1990 concept version. Yeah, so absolutely, yeah. If they're doing, so speaking of Movie Graphic Plus and all that, the 1999 concept Godzilla that Yuji Sakai did earlier in the line could be released as an MGP figure, because there is a movie poster that is representative of that. So you have the movie poster that's of the actual Godzilla suit, and then you have the actual maquette poster teaser that was out. And it does actually say Godzilla 2000 Millennium on that poster right there. So there's definitely a chance that that could be released, for sure. Greeking Marines moving the labels. Gotcha. Let's see here. Just rejoined yet again. Do you think they'll release special effects set for the Shin Movie Graphic Plus since it's the 10th anniversary? No, I don't think that they're going to do a special effects set to go alongside it. I think that Shin Godzilla is going to get its A and B form with the giant creature effect. That's what they're going to do extra for the Shin anniversary. Gotcha. Production slang. Those are all good picks, yeah. My hope with the MGP line is fun recolors or much better recolors of the characters that had some missteps for fans. Yeah, I mean, they are going to be scene specific, so we'll have to see. That some of those scenes might rub you the wrong way, like GMK Godzilla is going to be more brown because it's supposed to represent the blaze in the final battle scene, so that fire reflecting on its body and everything. I'm not a big fan of that per se, but it's going to be a nice way for people to pick up that figure if they don't have that version of it, at least. For 1989, this is perfect though. Give me the darker skin color. Absolutely, this is fantastic. I hope they do MGP Godzilla Earth based on the Scarlet. Yo, that would be fire. I'm really hoping that they do that. I'm there with you. I hope that they do that. We need a Scarlet version. Lil Goji 34. I like Heisei Godzilla. Me too, man. I do too. Personally, my top 3 would be 04, 02, and 95. 95 is a very popular pick. A lot of people pick 95 when they think of Heisei series because it's the, it's the last one. It's the last version of the suit. I know 94's suit is modified to be 95, but the birding is cool. But as far as a definitive Godzilla goes, 94 it is for me. That's the one I picked right there. 04, it's okay, in my opinion. I know a lot of people either hate 04 or they like it a lot. I'm like in the middle though. It's not bad, but there's some proportions that I'm not a big fan of, and I understand that they made it like that so that it can really move in the movie. So I think it's cool. 02, yeah, I actually like 03 better than 02. The scar, I like the little tweaks they did at the head too. Am I excited for Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus? Yeah, I mean, if they ever get to come out, I'll be excited about them. If everybody supports the 1975 figure, we could definitely see Mechagodzilla and Titanosaurus in the future. So support your Showa. Where did the Scarlet nickname come from exactly? I don't think it was ever referred to that in the movies or any guides that I'm aware of. That's a good question. I just kind of just started saying it because that's what I saw other people calling it, but I wonder where it did come. Let's see. Scarlet Godzilla. Rob would know the answer to this, I think. I wonder if it's fan coined or not. Let's see here. I mean, I'm just using just the Google AI search right now, and it says that the name Scarlet Earth, Godzilla Earth, originates from GIF magazine promotional GIF, which labeled the monster as to describe a specific aesthetic change during the second film, Godzilla City of Edge of Battle. So it sounds like it came from a file of a GIF, and they called it Scarlet Godzilla. Seems like to be its where it's originated from. Again, this is like the AI search results, so I'm not sure how reliable that is, but I don't think it gives a source. Yeah, it doesn't. Oh, the source apparently must come from Gojipedia. So, okay. Good question though. I'd be curious to know where that came from, because I know they don't call it that in the movie too, or in the series. What do you think is your favorite Godzilla? My favorite is the 1994 Godzilla. Shishko 999, yo, yeah, we already did all the comparisons and everything, but I'm glad that you're here. We're just chilling. We're just relaxing. We're just chilling, asking questions, and I'm just responding to them at this point, decompressing after the big stream. Let's see here. I do hope we get a surprise reveal with Heavy Arms Kiryu reissue as a decisive battle version. I think that is definitely something that is going to come in the future, for sure. I think it's going to happen. That figure's only had one issue, so the decisive battle version very well could happen in the future. Let's see here. Would you think the new Odo Godzilla would also have the push and pull articulation? I know this stream is about Bio Godzilla, but I'm just curious. No, you can ask any question you want right now. We're done and over with the Bio Godzilla, so you can ask anything you want at this point. But as far as I know, you know, this figure was in development at the same time as Godzilla 2000, so I'm not quite sure if it's going to have the push in and push out joints. I know the 1975 Godzilla looks like it's going to have them, but I don't think that Odo's going to have it. I think Odo's going to have its unique articulation for that specific figure because it's not the same shape and everything. I think that they're going to go with a more traditional junior style, but improved, if that makes sense. I'd be curious though. We will all have to see together. Epsilon says interesting. Also, I wonder what the SDCC exclusive will be this year. What if there isn't an SDCC exclusive for Godzilla? Not every year they've done one. It's very, I think since the line's beginning, we've only had, I think, 5 SDCC exclusives. Yeah. We had the Comic-Con Meltdown, the 2019 Blueberry, and then we also had the Kong event exclusive, and then we had the 1989 event exclusive, and then the 2023 Godzilla event exclusive. So out of, you know, almost 15 years, we've only had 5 exclusives. So not every year is guaranteed to get one. But if they do, I'm hoping that they do the Evolved 2024 supercharged version. That's what I hope they do. I have S.H.MonsterArts Godzilla 1995 and MonsterArts Godzilla Final Wars. Awesome. Hey, everybody's got to start somewhere, right? SDCC will be 2019 again. I mean, if 2019 got a 2.0, then I'm all for that. See, you thought you were going to say that again as a bad thing, but I just reversed that on you. Now it could be a good thing. Nah, I don't think they'll do an SDCC Scarlet version. Nah. I think if they are going to do a Scarlet version Godzilla, I think that it will be a part of the MGP lineup, or it will be just a decisive battle version by itself. But I think it's doable. I also think that same thing for Ultima. I think Ultima is going to come back as a decisive battle version or a MGP figure as well. Let's see here. What else we got here? You guys are great with these questions. These are all great. Do we know why the red spiral ray from the Fire Rodan release hasn't come back? The 30th anniversary Burning Godzilla would have been a great time to bring it back. You know, it's... from what I'm told, is that a lot of the very beginning figures, they were all first edition benefits. Now, on the actual packaging itself, only the Godzilla 1994 figure and Mechagodzilla figure had stickers explicitly saying these are first edition exclusives. You're never going to get these ever again, basically. And that's why you haven't seen the blue beam in forever, and that's why you haven't seen Mechagodzilla's beam forever. On the other ones, those stickers don't exist, but when I was talking to Tamashi way back in the day about will we ever see those beam effects again, they were at the time saying no. Those were first edition benefits, you're not going to see those again. That's kind of like the benefit of getting those figures for the first time. Now, can they change their mind after all of this time and bring it back? They could. I mean, it's their own company, they break their own rules all the time, but that's just kind of like what they had said at the time. So I haven't asked about that in like the last 5 years or 6 years or something like that, so who knows, things could have changed. All right, so it could kind of seem confirmed that 75 could potentially have the same articulation engineering as Godzilla 2000. Yeah, so when we were taking a close look in my figured drop talk video, if you go and check that out, it does look like it does have the same kind of engineering that 2000 did. So if you have a free moment, go check out that video. You'll see it when I zoom in on those areas, especially around the arms and the legs. It does very much look similar. Super Mario Zilla, hey, welcome, man. This year is the 15th anniversary of MonsterArts, even though nothing special may be planned. I'm definitely planning something for my channel. Awesome. I'm really happy to hear that. And from what I know, there is some special things planned for the 15th anniversary. I mean, take this as your first hint, guys. They've been announcing 2 figures basically every time. So this year is going to be stacked with releases. Since January, you've had 2 figures being announced. So... and they're still continuing that trend to this day. They did Odo Island Godzilla in 75. You know, the next one's going to be the Eva Godzilla and something else now. So, and then MGP Godzillas, that's also another duo. So, it's going to be a stacked year for MonsterArts. Probably the biggest release year yet. So look forward to it. Let's see here, what else we got? Andres Gomez, do you think we could get Godzillasaurus from Godzilla versus King Ghidorah, or if we're getting Odo Island? I think so. I think it's a possibility, especially if they do Hokkaido Godzilla, or if they do battle damaged version King Ghidorah. I can see, hopefully, I mean, this is just the fan inside me. I just would want them to, you know, throw in the other Godzilla, Godzillasaurus in there. I would love it. I had the Ichibancho version, and that's a good substitute for now. Let's have another -1 for SDCC. No more -1, no more Shin. I'm done. I'm done with those guys. Does the MonsterArts Godzilla 1975 have movable dorsal plates? Yes. All 4 large dorsals are 100% movable on that figure, so you'd be able to sway them back and forth, as they say. I'm just going to up the brightness on this right here since one of my lights is out, so we're going to compensate. Okay. So, yeah, they can move back and forth. Hopefully they'll change their minds. Those accessories were awesome. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. They are very collector-driven, and one of the big things that they have said to me in the past is that they do not want to devalue somebody's original purchase. As much as it would be consumer-friendly to release the same stuff over and over again in like the same beam effects over and over again, or repackaged in other releases, they really want the collector who originally picked up that original release to have something special. And that is something that is just one of those things that kind of sucks about collectibles in general, is that sometimes they do that. And it kind of makes you have to go and hunt. If you want that original one, you got to go hunt for it. So it's not like it's mass-produced like KB Toys stuff, you know? So unfortunately. But that doesn't mean it won't ever happen in the future. Who knows, right? Super Mario. Oh, I didn't realize the Duo release is actually this. If this year is stacked, I'm looking forward to what's cooking. Do you have any hopes? I'm well aware of what's happening, so it's gonna be cool though. You guys are gonna be. It's gonna be awesome. MonsterArts Godzilla 1994 plus Little Godzilla set, please, Bandai. Yes, that would be a good opportunity to bring back the Little Godzilla figure. Absolutely. Do a duo. What if they re-release the old blue beam with a different blue? They could do that, 100%. They could. They could make it a whole different blue color and everything. They just haven't done it after all this time for some reason. I don't know why, but that's just something that they've done. Honestly, I'm a little bored of that beam because they've used it so many times in its red form. Like, there's so many different red variants of it. There's a purple variant. There's even the special effects set that it came with also has different colorations and whatnot. So it's I'm a little bored with that one. I would rather have something brand new if they do another blue beam effect. So sign me up for that. Sign me up for that. I'm just gonna change out some batteries really quick, guys, because I don't like the way it looks on the stream right now. I lifted up the brightness too much. Let me just add these batteries right here. The problem was I did a shoot yesterday and then I passed out and totally forgot to charge my battery. So I am operating on lesser than good brand name batteries right now. They don't hold their charge as well as the name brand stuff is. So anyways, okay, back to the chat here. Let's see. What MonsterArts Godzilla has the most articulation? I would say Godzilla 2000 is tied. Not tied. I would say Godzilla 2000 and Final Wars Godzilla. Those two have the most articulation in terms of how many variety poses you can do and everything. Like, definitely, 100%. Gremlins! Yeah, absolutely. I would love a Gremlin figure from MonsterArts. That would be so cool. Megalon, you know it's happening. I do know it's happening. It's happening like in 20 years from now. No, I'm just kidding. They're making their way through the 70s, though. I'd be surprised. The way I would see it happening is that we're going to do Terror of Mechagodzilla, flesh that out, get the whole cast out. And then I think they're going to skip to Megalon. They're going to do Megalon, get that finished. They'll do a 73 Godzilla. And then they're going to come back to 1974 Godzilla. And they'll do a redo of Mechagodzilla 74, hopefully. And King Caesar might come out with that. And then we can finally get into some sort of renewal for Hedorah. It would be so awesome if they scaled it up and did a 1971 Godzilla that was the same scale as the 72 Godzilla, and scaled Hedorah up, so it's a lot taller, because Hedorah uses the old 64 scale, unfortunately. So that's the way I kind of see it going, though. I think that they're going to go from 75 back to 73, and then they're going to do 74, and then they're going to wrap it up with 71. And then finally we can get into the 60s. Do you think Godzilla 1994 is able to see a Movie Graphic Plus release? This is assuming they don't update the mold or mainline. If they don't update the mold, which I would be shocked. I would be absolutely shocked if they just reissued it in Movie Graphic Plus. If they didn't update it, though, it would go into Movie Graphic Plus, easy peasy. But I can also see them doing a 2.0 and doing a dual pack, and then later in the years do Movie Graphic Plus of it. So, and when I say dual pack, I mean dual pack with Little Godzilla, and then maybe within the next year do a Movie Graphic Plus with that new mold. I can see that happening. I would be shocked, though. I would be absolutely shocked if they actually reissued the original 94 Godzilla for Movie Graphic Plus. I would be shocked. I wonder if MonsterArts got the Universal Studio license, if Gremlins, Jurassic Park's Jaws, or other classic monsters could be on the table. I mean, the thing is that when they get a license, it's not all IP, so they would have to visit each IP individually. So just because, let's say they get Jaws, doesn't mean that they have easy access to Jurassic Park or Gremlins. And you also have to think about who has rights in the United States for these properties as well. So those rights holders will have a say whether or not Tamashii Nations can distribute these characters in the United States. So that's the other kind of aspect of that too. Godzilla 1984, it has to be this year. My most anticipated MonsterArts. Man, I've seen some people clamor for 1984. As far as I know, it's not that popular of a figure, though, in Japan. Or a character version of it. I mean, I did a little thing during San Diego Comic-Con last year, and it didn't seem like it was that big of a deal compared to some other Godzillas. So, we'll see. Yeah, Gremlins is Warner Brothers. That's right. Godzilla Earth Atomic Breath version. Yeah, that's the Scarlet. Or, well, I guess it's not Scarlet. You can still do an Atomic Breath version for sure. How do you feel about the Toho Godzillas that Haya has released so far? I mean, they're okay. I mean, for their price range, I think they look great. You know? They look great for what they are. I think everybody that is not able to afford those MonsterArts, they've got a more affordable option out there to get those representatives. And they're a little bit taller too, so if you like a little bit of a bigger scale, they're okay. For me personally, I'm not a big fan of the aesthetics that I see on them. I know a lot of people like to point out that, oh, look how accurate it is, and it just comes off very NECA 2.0 to me. That's the best way I can describe it for these guys. Now they have the look, but there's something very toy about it still at the end of the day. Versus the deep sculpts that MonsterArts is very familiar with. So, softer sculpt maybe? I don't know. They just come off very toy at the very end of the day still. So that's why I go with NECA 2.0. It's like if NECA did really, really good with what they were doing, this would be Haya. So, let's see here. What's the rarest MonsterArts? That's a good question. I haven't really checked lately what the rarest one would be. I'll have to get back to you in a future chat. I'm not really sure off the top of my head right now what is the most rare. And are Toho Ghidras, including the bootleg 64, all the same size as each other or slightly different? The bootleg 1964 is the same height as the 1991 Ghidra. The 1972 Ghidra is a little bit shorter though. It's interesting because on the website for their listing, they actually listed it as the same height as 1991 Ghidra, but it's not. It's not the same height. The necks are shorter. And then, of course, 2019 Ghidra is like, it's in its own league, so. Super Mario Zilla says, Godzilla 1994 and Mechagodzilla 1993, pretty much most, if not all the Heisei monsters can really use updated molds, especially since modern kaiju figures from Bandai are capable of some crazy poses. Yeah, I don't know if they really need updated molds. Maybe updated engineering on the inside, because the molds are pretty good looking. Like Space Godzilla's is pretty cool. Mechagodzilla, I wouldn't see what it needs to be updated mold-wise either. Yeah, I think the engineering could be improved for some of them. Things like Destroy them. Destroy is a brick of a figure. Like, you're not going to do much with that. I don't know what else you could do to really improve on its main body articulation. Like, for the wings, they can definitely, like, do something different, for sure, for that figure. But a lot of those figures, like Space Godzilla, Mechagodzilla, who else? I mean, even King Ghidorah, it's a fine sculpt still to this day. I think that the engineering could always use updates though. And that's expensive to do at the same time for MonsterArts. So I don't see it happening unless they do an actual 2.0 like 1994 Godzilla. That is a good example of the articulation and the sculpts are outdated. Right, so that's the reason why they would do that one. And this is the reason why we saw Burning Godzilla be released. You know, it's good enough. It still holds up to this day as far as sculpt goes, right? The engineering might be dated though. St. Pepsi's here, sup? I think the rarest is the Orai Norioshi Mechagodzilla. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's the rarest in the line. It just comes up with demand, right? What's the most expensive and what's got the high demand out there? That's what I would look at when it comes to the rarest, right? It's up there though. The rarest is probably either the original 1994 or the original Comic-Con Explosion. Neither of those are rare. You can get those on the aftermarket for relatively affordable prices. Like right now, you could probably go, I know for a fact that you can go to a US retailer, Toys in the Box, and you can get the reissue of 1994 Godzilla, and it's like $129. And on Mandarake, it's usually hovers between the $8,000 to 1,000 yen. So they're definitely not the rarest. They're still pretty affordable to get. Let's see here. He agrees with Super Mario. Zilla, I agree. Maybe Mothra and Batra Larva's molds could stay the same. Yeah, I just don't see any of the molds ever changing. Just engineering could be updated though. But I don't see molds changing at all. Let's see here. I understand the comparison to NECA. They are very suit accurate, but their proportions are apparently slightly off according to who you ask. And in my opinion, the 1991 head sculpt isn't quite there. Yeah, you know, it's we're talking about the Haya figure right here. Yeah, so I do appreciate this, that Haya Toys is aiming to do something that's more accurate to the suit, to differentiate itself from the current competitor, which would be MonsterArts, right? MonsterArts is not trying to emulate the suits. They're not trying to make the suits one-to-one. The idea is that they're an artistic take that makes it more like a realistic creature versus the man in the suit. So I think this is a nice way that people can collect both, or they can collect one, depending on what they aspire to have in their collections. If you want something that's more suit accurate, the Haya toy seems to be nailing it in certain aspects. Like King Ghidorah's faces look pretty spot on with what you see in the movie, right? In the proportions of it, they're okay. The proportions on that figure are all right. It still comes off really toy to me because it's a digital sculpt versus a hand sculpt. Everything's just so perfectly lined up, if that makes sense. So, and it's also like not, I don't know, it's too symmetrical. I guess it's the best way to put it. It's too symmetrical for me. But I think they're doing a pretty good job. Like, they just recently announced their Destroya figure, and it looks pretty close to exactly how the suit looks, you know, in the way it's standing and everything. And it honestly, those promo pics don't look like it moves a lot. So, but I wouldn't expect it to move a lot because the MonsterArts is already difficult to move a lot. It does have some aspects where you can spread those legs pretty far, you can get it to bend over. It has 0 torso articulation on that thing though. But the head movement is really great and everything. The wings engineering super dated. I wish that they would change it. And the tail's okay too. It doesn't move so bad. Interesting fact though, if anybody was curious who sculpted the Destroya figure, that was actually Shinichi Wakasa, who also sculpted or created the suit, the original suit. He actually did the MonsterArts figure too. All right. Honestly, if I were to guess what's the rarest MonsterArts, it would be the Awakening Godzilla 2016 or Godzilla Jr. Special Color version. I spent eternity hunting Jr. Yeah, I mean, those Awakening Godzilla has definitely come up in price. It's definitely up there. If you asked me before Destroya was out there, the most rare one would be the Special Color version, poster King Ghidorah, and the Special Color version of Destroya. Those would be the ones that would be the more rare ones, but I haven't checked in a while, so I need to get a good grasp on what is the most rare now, since they've now, I think the Special Color version 91 Ghidorah might still be the rarest one to get. And I believe that they are molded using 3D software, which maybe explains the toys like quality to them, although I'm not sure about that. They might be hand sculpted. They are molded with 3D technology. They don't use, they don't have a sculptor that comes in and makes them, so they are using like ZBrush and who knows what other 3D tools they do. So that way that when they do their stuff, they can actually have the image, you know, in their computer, and they can actually put it in the 3D software, and they can basically trace over the image of the character, and they can sculpt it from there. So that is an advantage to doing it that way, but it is still limited to your 3D hands. And some people are really good at that. They can really do some fantastic sculpts using 3D software, right? But it just depends on the artist's hand, right? After getting Super Mecha Godzilla, and the engineering could be better. That and that and hide and fix seam lines better. Yeah, I think the difficulty with Mechagodzilla, Super Mechagodzilla, was that they have a lot of die-cast parts in the legs and everything, so those seam lines are really, really hard to get around. That figure has a lot of die-cast in it. So the whole leg system is die-cast, the center of its body is die-cast, the elbows are die-cast, a lot of it is die-cast. I think that if I would improve anything engineering-wise for Super Mechagodzilla, would be to give it some ankle pivots, though. because it can only just tilt up and down, that's it. The special color version of Batra and Mothra are pretty hard to get, quite pricey for those third-party resellers. Yes, especially the special color version of Batra. That one is definitely up there. Yes, I remember seeing that pretty high there. Yep, Little Godzilla and Space Godzilla is another one that's up there too. All right, gonna go now. Bye. All right, we'll see you later. Thanks for stopping by. Appreciate it, man. Or lady, or whoever you are. I appreciate you coming. So when could we speculate on seeing 2.0 94 after Kaiser or teased before? I don't know. If they were to do 94, so here's the thing: the line was originally announced, or not announced. It was originally the first figure was out in November of 2011. So if we're gonna get a 94 2.0, it would hopefully either be releasing in November of this year, or they might solicit it on Godzilla Day. So one of those two things is going to happen if it happens. So Kaiser will definitely be out by the end of this year, though. I believe it should be going up for pre-order after Godzilla Final Wars Heat Ray version comes out with the new Gotenga. So that should be, we should be looking for Kaiser solicitation around end of May, early June. There you go. Rare might be Little Godzilla, but only one standalone release with 2-pack. Yeah, Little Godzilla by itself is definitely one of the more rare ones. I don't think Kaiser will get a teaser soon, so I think that they will make new figures, but I don't think 1994 will get a 2.0 soon. We'll see. I am crossing my fingers that we're going to get a 2.0 this year. Crossing my fingers hard. Each one has its own pleasantries. We're talking about Haya again and MonsterArts. Each one has its own pleasantries. Like, I'm fond of the fact that Hayas are a bit more chunky than the MonsterArts, but they're both good. Yeah, I think that has to do with the suits too. The suits kind of had that extra fat to them. The MonsterArts are definitely leaner in that respect. Haya suits lacked grit. But if we speak about rare, I see a lot of King Ghidorah, Destroya on eBay, just not for good price. Yeah. Yep, those are the ones. Oh, we got more lights out. So give me a second, guys. Let me just turn up that brightness again. I'm out of batteries here, so we'll have to just rely on shutter output. Okay. Where are we at stream-wise right now? We're at we got 5 more minutes left. 5 more minutes left, and then we're going to be jumping off the stream here. So continue to ask those questions and whatnot. Give me 1 second here. Kind of readjusting some things really quick. Okay. Okay, let's see here. So yeah, I don't think KG Destroyer is the most rare. I need to go back and take a look, but that's what it was about a couple years ago. They were the most rare ones. I can't believe I made that mistake in my Destroyer review. We sculpted the figure. Yeah, I was watching your review and you said Yuji Sakai. I was like, no, he didn't do that. Yuji Sakai sculpted the crab form, the little small crab form from the Destroyer Evolution set. And then Wakasa sculpted the larger one. And then it turns out, we've been led to believe that Wakasa also did the aggregate form and the flying form, but I guess there were other people on his team that did those 2 figures for MonsterArts. He actually didn't sculpt those 2. He only did the Adult Destroyer. So that was an interesting fun fact that came to light recently. Let's see here. Yeah, special color version 1991 and the original King Ghidorah are pretty tough to get. I think you can still get the original 1991 Ghidorah for a lot less than the poster color version, for sure. Yep, 2003 Kiryu, pricey, rare exclusive, and a cooler version. Yep, it is, definitely. Oh, Heisei Moth and Bat. Let's see here. Heisei Moth and Bat will get new releases. Yeah, I hope so. We'll see. I recently bought Final Battle Kiryu 2002 for $320, and I thought that was a steal. Oh my. I mean, depending on where you bought it from, if you bought it from the American retailers, I feel like that's kind of like more or less the average going price is around $250 to $300. If you imported it, you could probably get it for a little less because of the currency conversion, but the shipping situation might just bring it back up. I would say that that would be the 320, the 300 to 350 range for sure for the 2003 Kiryu. Yeah. The seller stole your money. It just depends. You know, it's a buyer's market out there, guys. If you buy it for the high prices, that's why they sell them for those high prices. So, demand, you know? How likely do you think the Shin King Ghidorah is? You know, Pachinko Eva Godzilla kind of opens up the doors for the Shin King Ghidorah, so we'll see how that works. Honestly, though, I don't think it's really high, because the only reason why the Eva Godzilla is happening is because of the Grand Hero crossover event. They're capitalizing on that, they're piggybacking off of that, and that's why they're introducing that here. I think in Japan, there's also a big following of this crossover series. There's a lot of merch and stuff being sold with Godzilla X Evangelion, so I think that it's big over there. But based off of the comments that I got when I showed off pictures for the Eva Godzilla, there's a lot of people on board for that. Me personally, I'm like, eh, but I recognize that there's a lot of people that are really excited about that release. Yeah, here we go. Now that MonsterArts is doing Eva Godzilla, is there a chance that MonsterArts Angels? No. There is a licensing issue that prevents MonsterArts from doing the Angels, unfortunately. So, yeah, they were showcased. They remain in prototype limbo. The ultimate rare MonsterArts figure to ever exist are the prototypes of the first released figures. Well, I have some very sad news to you, in that the prototypes of those releases, most of them are destroyed. Yuji Sakai might keep a couple of them for himself if they let him do that, but from what I understand and what I've been told is that prototypes are typically destroyed as soon as they're used. This is why when we see reissues of the figures in the line, you don't see the resin prototypes used in the promo photos anymore. They're just the released versions. So for example, let's see here. Like the Space Godzilla Fukuoka figure, that is not a resin prototype. They used just the factory sample and they just repainted it after that. And then they use the translucent parts from that. But they don't use a resin prototype. So those resin prototypes, as soon as they're done, they get destroyed. Who do you think the better sculptor is, Yuji Sakai or the other person, Wakasa? I think they have different talents. I think that depending on the character, they do really well with certain characters, right? Like Sakai does really good Heisei Godzilla, and Wakasa does, you know, his figures are okay. They're not bad. In the 6-inch scale, you know, he did Fire Rodan, he did Destroya, and those guys look good. Trying to think of other ones. He also did the 2019 Ghidorah, but he didn't have final references, so that's just kind of his take on what the 2019 Ghidorah would look like. He did the Gamera 95 and Gamera 96 figures, and he also did the Gamera 1999 head for the Kyoto version. I'm trying to think of what other ones he did. Well, I'll think about it, but he does pretty good sculpts for what he does, too. I'll tell you that Yuji Sakai's got more practice doing smaller scale figures than Wakasa does. So it just depends on the character. If they make Shin Ghidorah, isn't that the first good look at Shin Ghidorah because not many people saw it? I don't know. I think most fans that are really hardcore have gone on YouTube and saw what that looks like, so. Let's see here. Shishko says, do the people who work in the sculpting department in Tamashii get to keep the prototypes if they ask? I don't think so. I believe that prototypes are property of, the way it works is that they become property of Tamashii Nations, and they can ask, like Yuji Sakai can ask to keep it, but for the most part they are destroyed. I don't think anybody that's just like a random employee can ask to keep a prototype, if that's what you're asking. I think the sculptor might have the opportunity to keep the prototype, but like say you're just a regular employee that are like in a marketing position, I don't think you have the ability to ask, so they're just destroyed. Yeah, it's sad. I hope they make MonsterArts Titanosaurus. Hey, buy 1975 Godzilla, and then maybe it'll happen. Super Mario Zilla says, I do know somewhere on Twitter I saw someone manage to snag the resin prototypes of Destroya and Burning Godzilla originals. I I don't know if it's a person or if it's just photos from Sakai when he was doing behind-the-scenes photos. Because he's got a couple behind-the-scenes photos of showing what that looks like. Just realized, sweet, you can pose Godzilla 1989. Yeah, you can pose him really, you can pose him up pretty well. Not as well as the 1991 Godzilla, but you can get some good poses out of that. The Articulation series, right? That's what you meant to say. Yes, Wakasa is the actual movie's suit sculptor. Yes, yes. Wakasa does actual suit designs. You know, he creates the suits and puts them into the movies and whatnot. Whereas usually Sakai, he's only done model work for the Destroya movies. So he did like model work for Godzilla and Godzilla Jr. But these were like prototype models. They weren't suits. And then he also did the prototype maquette model for Godzilla 2000 Millennium. But that's kind of the extent for the movies. The only time that Yuji Sakai has actually had any influence, supervision, overseeing suit design was for the 1954 Godzilla suit that has been recreated, that was used in that commercial. So that suit was him and his involvement right there. He didn't obviously make the suit, but he oversaw everything. So he came up with the sculpt and everything and got that implemented, and they made the casts based off of his sculpture. So that's the only time that Sakai has actually had any actual influence on the actual suits. I'd love to see video of Sakai or Wakasa painting these guys. There is a video of Sakai painting, not a MonsterArts figure, but there's a, I think it's one of the kits that he's got out there. And he has, is during Godzilla Fest, I don't know if it's still available, they might have taken it down, but there was a whole video stream of him painting the figure. But I think it's taken down. I'd love to see them making their own Godzilla design. I mean, the Millennium Godzilla is his own design. You know, that's Sakai's take on that. As far as Wakasa goes, like all the Godzilla designs that you see in the movies, those are his takes of those Godzillas. You know, 2003, 2002 Godzilla, Godzilla 2000, even Final Wars Godzilla. Those are the only one that Shinichi Wakasa didn't do was the 2001 Godzilla. They outsourced for a different group, and that was the director's decision. Then most likely it was probably Sakai then. The more I think about it, I'm glad I don't own any prototypes. I hear they're a nightmare. Yeah, prototypes are beautiful to look at, but they do not hold a pose because it's resin. It doesn't use any plastic parts in there, generally speaking. They just don't hold poses. I know this because I worked on the Mega Man. I used the Mega Man prototype during a thing for back in the day for Bluefin, and it just sucked. It just sucked at holding itself together. I had to put putty inside of it to hold itself together. This is why at events and everything, when you see MonsterArts on display, you see them sometimes held up together by things, or they're slouched over and falling apart. It's because they're resin prototypes and they don't hold their pose very well. They tend to slump over and fall. Yeah. It's very fragile. Yeah, it looks sharp, but it's fragile at the end of the day. And that's why they do ABS and PVC plastics for a lot of this stuff, because it's much more durable and better tolerance, can grip onto things. All right, guys. We are going to go ahead and wrap it up here in just a second. Let me just get my lights back on here because I like to record the last bit, so. This was a fun stream though. We got through, Godzillas are so much faster to get through than all the other monsters that are there, because all the other ones have all these accessories and whatnot. They just take forever to get through sometimes. Okay, so with that being said, let me just get that back to 50. There we go. Okay. All right. Is this the one that's dying? Yeah, give me 1 second. Got one battery out. We're on life support here. Okay. All right. All right, last questions here. Yeah, probably not. I would love to see a design collaboration between Sakai and Wakasa, and yeah, that'd be interesting. That would be an interesting one. Only 3 hours this time, yeah. I heard the story that someone did get their hands on the Ghidorah 2019 prototype, but they later chucked it in the garbage because of how much it fell apart. I'm not familiar with that story. Not familiar with that one. Okay, guys. All right. That is going to be the end of the stream today, guys. Thank you so much for joining us for this fantastic voyage of checking out Godzilla 1999 Movie Graphic Plus. I hope you guys got a good look at it and everything. Hopefully, we'll be taking a look at Shin Godzilla very soon. For those of you guys sticking around all the way until the very end, amazing, absolutely amazing. You guys rock. This has been it's been a blast. So can't wait to get to the next one. And without further ado, we'll catch you guys later on the next one, all right? We'll see you later.